A skydiving company in Longmont is now connected to 7 deaths in 7 years, most recently Sunday.
Our 9 News reporter Spencer Soisher is joining us. And Spencer, with this latest death, a witness actually told investigators the parachute didn't seem to fully open.
Yeah, skydiving deaths are not common, with no more than 20 recorded in a single year since 2018. But mile-high skydiving in Longmont has been linked to about 7% of all skydiving deaths in the U.S. since 2018.
Respond 10081 North 75th, 10081 North 75th on a fallen parachuter, not conscious, not breathing, 1507.
Emergency dispatchers in Boulder County said it as if it's something they'd said before.
Could you give Mile High a call and ask if they're missing any skydivers?
Hey, firm, we're on the phone with him.
The Boulder County Sheriff says just after 3 o'clock Sunday, a 60-year-old parachutist coming from Mile High skydiving in Longmont was found dead. Witnesses told them his parachute looked just partially opened as he fell into a spin. The company says on its website that it does 35,000 jumps every year. But in those, there's a history.
Federal investigators are trying to figure out what went wrong with a skydive turned deadly.
Traumatic brain injury that he suffered when skydiving last year.
Since 2018, we found records of at least 7 jumpers connected to mile-high skydiving that have died. About 7% of the skydiving deaths in the U.S., according to the U.S. Parachute Association. The mile-high crashes have been spread out. 2 in 2018, 2 in 19, 1 in 21, 24, and now again in 2025. I called Mile High Skydiving this afternoon and asked to speak to the owner. The person who answered the phone said she'd let them know that I called, but I haven't heard back. In the past, the U.S. Parachute Association has been quoted in media articles saying Mile High is one of the busiest skydiving locations in the country. The man killed in Sunday's crash has not been publicly identified. Spencer Soisher, 9 News.
There's some fresh powder to enjoy at Loveland Ski Area, and plenty of people did just that today, getting in there early. There's still no snow in Denver, at least not yet.
No.
9 News Chief Meteorologist Kathy Sabin is here. I don't know why we keep saying, how much longer, how much longer?
I know.
I mean,
who knows, right?
Right? It will snow.
It will. And as you and I, Kim, were talking about just a short time ago, while there is some beneficial moisture coming to Colorado this week, and there's the chance of a rain-snow mix, I'm looking at something for next week that looks colder and stronger, that has, I think, a better potential for Denver's first snow. So we'll see. There's some opportunities out there. In the meantime, it was another warm, dry fall day. It is a calm, quiet evening. Nice conditions out there. 49 in Denver currently, 32 in Kremling, 35 in Steamboat. Winds are a whole lot calmer than they were. Those southwest winds pulling in some high and mid-level clouds ahead of a storm spinning near the Las Vegas area. It's headed for southern Colorado. We'll start to see a little bit of moisture in the form of rain and snow overnight and tomorrow across the western half of the state. Denver is dry tonight and dry tomorrow. It'll be Thursday when we have a shot at seeing some beneficial rain showers here. And the rain numbers could be pretty substantial for some parts of northeastern Colorado. And hey, we need the water. We'll take it. Temperatures in the 40s for the next few hours. Your weather headlines include another mild, dry day ahead of the first of 2 storm systems that bring the potential for snow. I'll have the timing and impact coming up.
Congress is forcing the release of the Epstein files. The Republicans who control the House and Senate were forced into that by a united group of Democrats and a small handful of Republicans, including Colorado's Congresswoman Lauren Boebert.
The question now is, when will the president sign the bill and what will actually be released? 9 News anchor Phil Lipoff is here with what happens next. Phil?
Kim, after realizing he simply couldn't stop this from happening, the president gave in and called for the release of these files and has said he will sign the bill when it gets to his desk. The measure compels Attorney General Pam Bondi to release all, quote, unclassified records, documents, communications, and investigative materials in DOJ possession related to Epstein. Victims' names and other identifying information would be excluded, of course, from the disclosure. To be clear, the president didn't need to wait for Congress to act. He could have released these files at any time, but he and the White House worked for months to prevent this from happening, focusing specifically on 4 Republican women who broke with him and called for the release. None of them gave in. Colorado Congresswoman Lauren Boebert was one of them. She didn't change her vote. She didn't change her support for the president either, who was friends with Epstein in the 80s and 90s and whose name has come up in some of the documents already released. He continues to deny he participated in any of Epstein's crimes. Boebert said this on a podcast today.
For Democrats who try to pair President Trump with Jeffrey Epstein, I think they're going to continue to be proven wrong. He is the man who some suspect was a whistleblower against Jeffrey Epstein. He also kicked him out of Mar-a-Lago once he learned what he was involved in.
So how much of the Epstein file will be released? That remains to be seen. It figures that any materials related to ongoing investigations or even White House claims of executive privilege could actually remain out of view. Kyle.
Phil, thank you. So Denver's been taking a lot of heat online this week over a viral video. City says, yes, it looks extreme, but they insist that its public health vendors or inspectors were right to pour bleach into an unlicensed street vendor's food as a last resort. The city says the vendor has a history of moving place to place selling unsafe food and avoiding public health enforcement. So this happened Saturday as the stand Taco Colorado was set up at Colorado and Evans. The city says the food vendor was operating without a license and was ignoring multiple cease and desist orders. The inspectors say they found 9 violations on Saturday, including the vendor was using a trash can full of dirty water as a hand washing sink. The meat was kept at 54 and 82 degrees instead of the 135 degrees required to avoid it spoiling. And raw meat was left in cardboard boxes on a table instead of being refrigerated.
What we saw with that food is that it wasn't safe for anybody to eat. It had not been handled safely. It had not been stored safely. There was not adequate hygienic and sanitation practices in place. So, we want to make sure that everybody stays safe from contaminated food. And so that was why, the decisions that were made that evening were made.
We spoke with a man named Isidro Garcia Barrientos, who told us that he is the food stand's owner. He admitted that he does not have a permit for the business. He said that the city had not notified him of the repeated cease and desist orders over public health violations. The city provided us with copies of the citations that they sent him by mail and email. The state will consider whether to move forward with a new fracking project near the Aurora Reservoir by the end of the week.
Today, dozens of people protested outside the office of the state agency that will make that call. 9 News reporter Janelle Finch is here with that story. Janelle.
This oil and gas development plan includes 32 new wells in southeast Aurora. The Department of Natural Resources says the closest resident is more than 3,000 feet away. The residents worry the impacts will still be felt. Colorado air may be thinner, but Colleen Cusick
I moved to Aurora in March of 2024.
believes it shouldn't be any less fresh.
It just is really heartbreaking because one of the reasons why I was drawn to Colorado was I felt that it was so environmentally progressive.
Cusick says she lives within a few miles of the proposed Sunlight long oil and gas development plan. The project would bring 32 wells to state-owned land near the Aurora Reservoir. The Energy and Carbon Management Commission is discussing final approval this week.
Just say no! So this is it, do or die.
Cusick says she isn't protesting just to wave a sign. She's worried about impacts on public health and natural resources.
We understand the science behind it, and it alarms us. And we care for our children, we care for our neighbors, we care for our environment and the species that live in the environment. And the ECMC, by law, should be applying those standards to their decisions.
The Department of Natural Resources says the commission will consider public comment before making a decision. And Cusick hopes her cries aren't left hanging in thin air.
Even if we don't have a great percentage chance of having something happen in our favor, we're not going to stop.
A CU Anschutz study from earlier this year found Colorado children living within 8 miles of oil and gas well sites are at an increased risk for leukemia. The commission will begin taking public comment tomorrow. Thursday and Friday, they're expected to decide on moving the plan forward. Janelle Finch, 9 News.